Thank you for joining us on Coffee Break, brought to you by the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging, or M4A. M4A is a part of a network of 13 area agencies on aging that cover all 67 counties across the state. We are located in Alabaster, and we cover Blount, Chilton, Shelby, St. Clair, and Walker counties. We would love to find out how we can help your family today. For previous episodes of Coffee Break, feel free to check out our YouTube channel. Outside of that, I think we're ready to kick things off. It is about a minute or two after the 1 o'clock hour here in the Birmingham region. So we're going to kick things off. I know we've got several participants who have joined us who are eagerly waiting for this, what's definitely going to be an informative presentation. So, so we're thankful that you all have joined us. For those of you that this might be your first time with Coffee Break, especially those who are not joining us from within the Central Alabama region here, primarily in the Shelby County region. This is an initiative that we started back last year as the pandemic really kicked off. We kind of done this as kind of an alternative method to try to get information to our communities, primarily to family caregivers. So we will say that this is typically targeted more for family caregivers, but of course we never want to turn anybody away. So if you're joining us and you're not a family caregiver, or you're a professional, or whatever background you have, feel free to take this information, pass it on to family, friends, colleagues, or anybody that you're helping to care for, because it is definitely probably going to be some useful information to take back. We traditionally did the Coffee Break series as a bi-weekly, twice a month type setup during the pandemic and the year that is behind us of 2020. But we've decided to cut that back to just once a month, and because we're have several other initiatives that are starting to kick back off for 2021. So we found it to be definitely better for us to do it on a monthly basis. So we do have next month scheduled, so we'll kind of touch on that towards the end here. But again, this is Coffee Break. Just some house rules or house cleaning rules, or however you want to present it. We are recording this, and we're doing it live on our Facebook stream right now. Typically what we do is we take these videos, we clean them up afterwards, add any extra pieces that we think might be relevant and needed, and we will put those on our social media accounts, especially on our YouTube channel. Then we will obviously share those on our Facebook and Twitter and even Instagram. Maybe we'll do that for 2021. So thanks again for joining us, and we will go ahead and kick things off. Okay, so Coffee Break in particular is hosted, as you saw on the first screen there, it's hosted by the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging, also known as M4A. We're located in Alabaster, and we'll go over a lot more about our agency and what we do towards the end of the presentation. Specifically, Coffee Break is hosted by two of our in-house programs, one of those being the Panda Project, which is providing Alzheimer's and dementia assistance, as well as our traditional family caregiver assistance program, Alabama Care. So we're going to go ahead and kick things off. Today's speaker is Dr. Bryan Strickland, who's a physician out of the Montgomery area. He's a part of the Montgomery Primary Medicine Associates. He's also a part of the Baptist Health Hospital there in Montgomery. So without further to discuss, I'm going to pass it on to Dr. Strickland and let him take it over from here.
Well, thank you very, very much for joining us. Yeah, you'll find out in a minute that my wife is with us on this presentation too. She's very much the power, and to the extent that we're a power couple. Between the two of us for about 4.5 or 5 years now, we've been giving at least monthly presentations in our community about how a healthy diet can really impact several aspects of your health, including your brain health. And that's really going to be our focus today. We're going to be talking about Alzheimer's disease and dementia, and how the things you eat and drink can have an impact on your risk of developing dementia, perhaps slow down the progress of the loss of brain function if that's already started. Now, I know that this is a very knowledgeable group that's on this webinar today, and I know I don't I don't have to try to convince you that Alzheimer's disease or dementia is a bad thing. You know, one of the main ways I experience the severity of it is that a lot of my job is just maintaining my composure. I mean, being able to finish up with one patient and then go into the next patient and be fully present and have my mind clear. I'll tell you, some of the times that that's been most challenged is with the new diagnosis of dementia, or when dementia has crossed the line to where the person can't be independent or their living situation has to change. You know, it just drives home to me that this is just a tremendously difficult and important problem, often heartbreaking. And if we can find ways to steer clear of it for some of you, I think that'll be hopefully very beneficial. Yeah, I'll talk about we'll talk about the bad a little bit, but if you'll just hang with me through a little bit of bad, we're going to turn the corner pretty quickly towards talking about the good news. And I hope you'll receive it as good news. Now, to start with, you know, what are we going to talk about? Is it going to be Alzheimer's disease? Is it going to be dementia? Yeah, I've always found that a frustrating distinction to make. Yeah, I think in a lot of information, I think perhaps even the flyers for this, we're quick to call it Alzheimer's disease, but you often don't really know if it's Alzheimer's disease or not. You know, Alzheimer's disease makes up about 60 to 80% of dementia, we think. But Alzheimer's disease is really a pathologic diagnosis. You don't really know that it's Alzheimer's disease unless you've seen pieces of the brain under a microscope. So unless you've had a brain biopsy or an autopsy, we may not know for sure that it's Alzheimer's disease, and we may just be able to say that it's dementia. Now, what are we saying when we say that it's dementia? I mean, dementia is just this slowly progressive decline in your ability to think, in your ability to remember, in your ability to be you, sometimes in your ability to control emotions or other what we call executive functions. Yeah, that's what dementia is. Alzheimer's is one possible cause of that dementia, but there are many other causes. You know, it's recognized that there's also vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia that goes together with Parkinson's disease, progressive supranuclear palsy, multiple system atrophy, corticobasilar degeneration, normal pressure hydrocephalus, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, which you might also know as mad cow disease. You know, there's a lot of possible causes of dementia. And in any one individual, for lack of a brain biopsy or an autopsy, we usually don't know for sure which one it is. Now, the way that you really know for sure that it's Alzheimer's disease is looking at it under that microscope and seeing what we call neurofibrillary tangles. And the medical profession is still struggling with what exactly those are. You know, we've made a lot of progress. We know that they have something to do with tau protein, but I tell you, I still find all of that fairly esoteric and not all that helpful. And where I think things start to make more sense and gives you something more that you can hold on to and start trying to use to make a difference is when you realize that even when they prove that it's Alzheimer's disease, there's going to be at least 4 times as much atherosclerosis as in a normal brain. Meaning that, you know, somebody's got dementia, has Alzheimer's, you look at their brain in pathology after they die, you'll find 4 times as much disease in the blood vessels. Atherosclerosis is the gradual scarring and disease of the blood vessels that doesn't have to happen, but generally happens to all of us with the way that we eat and drink in our society. But that atherosclerosis is going to be the core of the good news that I'll be talking about in a minute. Trying to get back to the bad news about Alzheimer's. Yeah, I know that this is a group where a lot of you have family members that have Alzheimer's disease or dementia. You know, that should really get you interested in what you can do to keep from having problems in the future. If you've got a first-degree relative with Alzheimer's disease, meaning a mother, father, brother, sister, or child, your risk of getting Alzheimer's disease is increased by at least 30%. Other information that's out there says that if you've got a parent with dementia, you're twice as likely as somebody else to get dementia. And if you've got 2 or more siblings, brothers or sisters with Alzheimer's disease, you've got at least 3 times the risk of getting Alzheimer's disease. So I hope that gets you interested in, oh boy, what can we do to prevent this? Prevention is really the key, because once you have it, once we've diagnosed Alzheimer's disease or dementia, it's pretty much incurable. And I've always really struggled with that. I'm like anybody else. I'm wanting to find this pill that really turns things around and makes it different. But having seen patients and seen their situations a lot, I realize somebody that's already there, we're not likely to turn it around. Part of the reason is most people that are struggling with their memory, showing symptoms of dementia, when we do a CT scan looking for anything we could possibly fix, what we almost always find is called atrophy, which just means that where there should be a bunch of brain tissue up there, it's decreased to being maybe 2/3 brain tissue and 1/3 just liquid, just fluid. And what's going on there is a lot of brain cells are just gone. A lot of brain cells are just lost, and they're not coming back. Another thing that makes us realize, that we're not likely to turn this around after it's already set in, is that when you've diagnosed somebody with dementia and you really look back and say, yeah, when did you all first notice a problem? What was the first hint of this? Very often it's 10 or even 20 years prior to when that person crossed the line to bring it to our attention. And it's been a slow decline through all that time. And the chances of being able to reverse 10 or 20 years of progress is really very, very small. So we've kind of wallered in the bad news a little bit. Let's try to start turning our attention towards the good news. And I think the good news really comes back to that atherosclerosis. When you go looking to see, what are the things that increase your risk of getting dementia or Alzheimer's disease, the big things that increase your risk of getting dementia are smoking, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, being obese or carrying too much weight, inactivity, coronary artery disease, peripheral artery disease. Really, it's just the who's who of the things that make atherosclerosis worse, or give you the atherosclerosis to start with, give you the diseased blood vessels to start with. They've found that the other angle of looking at atherosclerosis with regard to dementia and Alzheimer's is that if you've got atherosclerosis, your risk of getting Alzheimer's in this lifetime is at least doubled. And they've also found that the amount of diseased blood vessels or atherosclerosis in the brain is directly proportional to how quickly dementia declines or how quickly you lose that brain function over time. Another nugget is that a total cholesterol of 250 or worse brings at least 3 times the risk of getting Alzheimer's disease. So I hope that helps you get your arms around the idea that the health of the blood vessels is a big, big deal. And that kind of has us turning towards the good news. A lot of this good news is rooted in the idea that your brain, it makes up about 10% of your body, but your brain gets about 40% of the blood flow. It's an organ that is tremendously dependent on the health of your blood vessels. But if you think again about those causes of the diseased blood vessels, darn near every one of those can be preventable. It can be turned around. And that makes us turn our attention towards Life Simple 7. This is what the neurologists have come with in trying to preserve brain health. The Life Simple 7 are, number 1, don't start smoking. If you do smoke, stop. The next is to manage your blood pressure. Be sure you've got that under control. The next is to be sure that your cholesterol is under control. The next is to be sure that you keep your blood sugar under control. Eat a healthy diet, lose weight, and get physically active. Now, those things are basically in the order that the national level expert neurologists have given them to us as Life Simple 7. It also comes from the American College of Cardiology. But me, I would boil that down to what? Life's Simple 3. Because it's that eating a healthy diet, I really don't think it belongs as the 5th thing on the list. If you really clean up your diet and make it healthy, if you move your diet to being as healthy as it can be, the blood pressure, the cholesterol, the blood sugar are going to be okay. So I guess maybe it would be the Life Simple 4. Get on to a healthy diet, stop smoking, and get physically active. Gosh, that's still 3. So I think it really gets really simple. Now, what is that healthy diet? What is the ideal healthy diet? I think we're very fortunate to live in the 21st century because I'll tell you, 15 years ago, I don't think that we had a really solid answer to that. We do have a solid answer to what the best diet is for your blood vessels. It is eating a diet that is fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, and water. The evidence is rock solid that that's the way to get your blood vessels as healthy as possible. Caldwell Esselstyn did these wonderful studies where he took pictures of the blood vessels supplying people's hearts. They're basically pictures from a cardiac catheterization. And he showed where blood vessels were blocked up and diseased, and clearly this person's heart was in trouble. And then he put them on a very, very healthy diet, basically fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, and water. And he was able to show pictures just a few months later showing that those blood vessels had opened back up. You could probably find those pictures if you search Caldwell Esselstyn and cardiac catheterization pictures or healthy diet pictures. I think you'd probably be able to find those same images. They're very, very convincing. Some evidence that also points towards this being the right answer. Yeah, there was a study done that showed that people that eat mostly meat have 3 times the risk of dementia compared to the people that eat mostly vegetables. There's been studies done that show that eating a significant amount of berries, a couple cups of berries every day, decreases brain aging by 2.5 years over a lifetime. Eating a significant amount of nuts every day decreases brain aging by about 2 years. Another neat nugget of information that's out there, somewhat new, is this chemical called lutein. Lutein, Lutein. It's the brain's #1 antioxidant. It's the brain's #1 anti-inflammatory. And a neat thing about trying to study how much lutein is in brain cells is the back of the eye. The back of the eye has a special place called the macula, which is basically brain tissue that is visible if you look through a special instrument into the back of the eye. And you can actually find ways to measure the amount of lutein that is in the macula. And what they found is the more lutein that is in there, the better people did with tests of their memory and tests of their thinking. The less lutein, the worse they did. Lutein, where does that come from? It comes from avocado. It comes from dark leafy greens. There was this other great study that showed that if you have a cup a day of spinach, that you would have improved vision, cognition or thinking, and memory over time. So I hope you can see the good news in this. You may not be able to bring back a loved one's memory and thinking, but you would be able to slow down the decline or stop the decline, hopefully. I think it has even more power, though, in helping you or other members of the family who have a parent or grandparent that has had memory problems, these ideas are much more powerful at helping you steer away from these problems. These interventions I've talked about with diet, they've been found to be most effective when you start these interventions somewhere between age 40 and 60, when you start them in midlife. So I hope you'll get started on it now and really improve your odds for your future. So in summary, trying to avoid having memory problems in the future, I'd really encourage you to get onto a whole foods, plant-based diet. That's where the evidence points. There's a lot of support for you if you choose to make that change. Also, try to stay active, be outgoing, stay mentally engaged with the world, don't smoke. But I really believe the centerpiece of all these is what you do with your diet. And if you wanted to learn more about this information, Michael Greger is a wonderful source of information for these kind of issues. If you could go to nutritionfacts.org, that's his website, where he presents this kind of information both in write-ups and in videos. He's also got a great book called How Not to Die. But a lot of the information I gave you today is from nutritionfacts.org. He's got a very powerful search engine if you need to make your search more specific. But I hope that's helpful. I'm glad you're with us.
Yeah, that's great information. Jennifer, do you see any questions on our Facebook feed at all? I don't see any. I saw a compliment here that said, thank you for the webinar, that this is great information. So we know that there's some positivity and some feedback there, but I don't see any questions there. Dr. Strickland, do you want me to show your 7 simple for brain health steps here?
Yeah, please. That's the punchline.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to emphasize anything here specifically before we jump into our video, but we were having a little bit of trouble trying to share these as well as the video feed at the same time. But yeah, of course, whenever we edit this video, we will include this and some contact information as well. But did you have anything else you wanted to add before we jump into the video, Dr. Strickland?
No, I mean, just this is the way that, I mean, if you look up Life Simple 7 on the web, yeah, this is the way it's presented. But like I was saying in my presentation, I'd point out that managing your blood pressure, controlling cholesterol, and keeping your blood sugar normal and losing the extra weight, those are all eating a healthy diet. Especially if you go all the way with making your diet as healthy as possible. So I would reduce this down to don't smoke, eat fruits, vegetables, grains, beans, water, and be physically active. If I were to add one more, it would be stay mentally active.
We did have one question that comes in, and the question is, do you recommend taking is it lutein? Is that how you pronounce that?
Yes.
Do you recommend a supplement specifically for that? And that's probably meaning outside of a diet specifically, like any type of vitamins or supplements in addition to the diet.
You know, a whole lot of issues like this with specific vitamins. It's very often that the idea that lutein helps so much, what it's really pointing back to is that a diet that's very, very strong in fruits, vegetables, grains, and beans is beneficial in many, many ways. Very often when we identify one chemical and we try to isolate that one chemical and get people to take it as a supplement, we don't get anywhere near as strong a result, nowhere near as positive a result as if we just get a person to move towards eating fruits, vegetables, grains, and beans. One way of thinking about it is that if you've got a diet that's really has a lot of fruits, vegetables, grains, and beans, the vitamins, the minerals, the lutein, you could think of several other chemicals that would be in there, you know, that it's like this orchestra. There's all, and when they're all in balance, just wonderfully, magically great things happen for your health. When you isolate one of those and make that one a whole lot louder, like you make the oboes 10 times as loud as what they're designed to be in an orchestra, you don't get something more, you get something less. So I don't know if there being evidence about just flat out taking lutein supplements and making things a whole lot better. I'd really encourage you to have this be an inspiration to move your diet towards fruits, vegetables, grains, and beans. You'll get a bunch more lutein than you would with the meat, cheese, dairy, eggs, and you'll get a lot of other added benefits.
And I think that kind of plays into this next question. And that question is, are there any supplements that are needed if you start a plant-based diet? Things that are maybe not necessarily supplied well by a plant-based diet, but I think you probably just answered that.
Well, I'm not really. I mean, vitamin D and vitamin B12 are the things that we've been traditionally concerned about with a plant-based diet. And I think we probably should be. Yeah, vitamin B12 is certainly necessary for brain health. And if you go to a totally plant-based diet, you can wind up much too low on vitamin B12, at least when we measure it. Now, what's really going on there is that B12 comes from dirt. Part of the problem may be that we're so good in our society about washing away the dirt that we're washing away the vitamin B12. Our livestock, the food they get, they're not so careful about keeping the dirt out, so they're a good bit more rich in vitamin B12. So I take a B12 supplement. I'd encourage you to. I don't take it as often, all that tremendously often, but trying to keep some B12 supplement coming in if you go totally plant-based would be wise. The vitamin D, is traditionally a concern with people that are plant-based, but I can tell you, we've had about a decade here where there's been a lot of thought that vitamin D might be making people feel bad in this way and that way. So I've checked a lot of vitamin D levels. I tell you, vitamin D is very low for just about everybody, it seems, or there's a high chance of vitamin D being low in people with all sorts of different diets. Taking a vitamin D supplement is certainly not a bad idea, but you can overdo it. I think it's really, vitamin D has kind of been a fad for about a decade. And we've thought for a while that you just couldn't overdo it. Take vitamin D, what could be better? Well, taking more vitamin D could be better. And it winds up that's not the case. You can't overdo it. If you get too much, it might get calcium out of the bones, the opposite of what you'd expect. And another big thing with overdoing it with vitamin D is that it can make you have more calcium in the urine and increase your risk of getting kidney stones. So somewhere around 400 units a day, if you're doing it without checking levels, could be reasonable. You probably wouldn't get in trouble with 1,000 units a day. I wouldn't suggest taking more than that unless you've had levels checked and you've got the advice of your doctor.
Sounds good. And then the last question here is, do you recommend taking CoQ10 if taking a statin?
No, I mean, CoQ10 has wound up being somewhat of a disappointment. The big issue is that statins make some people have their muscles ache. And that can be, and it can really, for some people, it really limits how much they can take. If your muscles don't ache taking a statin, you don't need to go looking for ways to fix it. We had a period there, and you don't need to go exploring the idea of CoQ10. We had some time there, like at least 15 years, where we thought that giving people CoQ10 would make them ache less when they took a statin, those people that were vulnerable to it to start with. And when it really was scrutinized with a good study, it just didn't pan out. It doesn't seem to help. I haven't encouraged anybody to take CoQ10 in a long time because it's really had a fall from grace. It really doesn't seem like there's anything good that it does. When I've got somebody whose muscles are aching when they're taking a statin, a cholesterol medicine like Lipitor or Pravachol, or Crestor, when somebody's got that aching, I'll check an iron level. I'll check a vitamin D level. Sometimes some of the best evidence in the last couple of years has been that supplementing a low vitamin D level can decrease muscle aching. Another study that came out really recently, I think I heard about it just a couple of weeks ago, when somebody had muscle aching with a statin, if you take away that statin for a little while and let the muscle aching go away and you give them the same statin at the same dose, somewhere around 60 or 70% of people do not have muscle aching. So it's a tough issue that you kind of open up with a CoQ10, but hope I didn't go too far beyond your question, but I don't have any reason to recommend it to anybody at this time.
Sounds good. Jennifer, do you see, I don't see any more questions here in the Zoom webinar. Do you see any on Facebook at all?
No, not right now.
Okay. All right. So I think we're ready to show the video. I don't know if you guys want to kind of do an introduction to the video. Okay. And then we can kind of kick things off there. So I will give you guys the floor. Ms. Carolyn, if you want to take it from there.
I'm here. I think what I took away from what my husband was just saying is that what we eat impacts our health in a lot of ways. And one of those ways is the health of our arteries and obviously our organs, but our brain has arteries running through it. And so if your artery health is good, then your brain health will be good. We see the impact of our diet on our arteries in a lot of ways. Men see it in particular with erectile dysfunction. It's the blood vessels in their parts that make them have erectile dysfunction. That same dietary problem that causes that and causes atherosclerosis also can lead to Alzheimer's and dementia. So foods that are healthier for your whole body are healthier for your brain. So I just want to clarify one thing that he said a second ago. So B12 actually comes from bacteria, not necessarily dirt. But we do find that bacteria in the dirt. We also find it in unsanitized water and manure. Obviously, we don't want to eat either of those things. And so we don't want to eat dirt either. And so, but people used to get plenty of B12 hundreds of years ago, because they didn't wash things off as well as we do. We are way too sanitary now for our own good sometimes, and that's where B12 comes in. So most people, not just people eating a plant-based diet, probably should look at a B12 supplement. You only need a teeny tiny amount of B12. So it's just 2.4 micrograms a day that are recommended. And if you look at supplements of B12, they are like way more than 2.4 micrograms. So you really don't even need to take that supplement every day. So just 2.4 micrograms. Vitamin D.
In addition, just like with vitamin D though, we've kind of had this almost fad-like approach to vitamin B12 for the last few decades, saying that there's no such thing as getting too much.
And there is.
But there actually was a study that came out in the Netherlands or Finland or something like that, in that region, that showed that people that got too much B12 ran with much higher than normal levels of B12, that they actually started having more kidney problems than other people.
Right.
So, we are starting to say that, oh yeah, you can overdo it with B12, which is what we thought a little while ago.
Right. So 2.4 micrograms isn't very much. And most supplements that you buy at the store are going to have like at least 100 micrograms in it. So you really don't need to take it every day. Vitamin D is actually a hormone that we create in our bodies through sun exposure. And so we are meant to be creatures who are out in the sun, and we are not getting enough sun. We all live inside. We wear clothes, we wear sunscreen, which is great because skin cancer is a thing too. So we do have to worry about that. But, you also don't need to take massive doses of vitamin D. You actually do make enough yourself if you just go out in the sun for 5 or 10 minutes a day and get a little bit of sun exposure. You're probably getting enough, but you do want to have that checked. So before you play the video, I just wanted to point out that the reason that we did this video of a cooking demo is to show that there are things that people really have a hard time not eating when we say eat a whole food plant-based diet, which is fruits, vegetables, grains, and beans. And it will naturally help bring down your blood sugar, help you lose extra weight, control your cholesterol, and hopefully help with your blood pressure. So all those, a whole bunch of those things on that simple 7 can be controlled and helped with a super healthy diet, which is fruits, vegetables, grains, and beans, or a whole food plant-based diet. One of the things that people say they really miss is dairy, is cheese. Well, you know, we know that foods that are high in saturated fat, high in cholesterol, those are things that contribute to atherosclerosis, which apparently we have learned also contribute to your brain health or the, you know, unhealth of your brain, I guess. And so the video is a mac and cheese with broccoli. And the broccoli is because it's considered a green leafy vegetable, and it has lutein in it, but it's also good for you in a lot of other ways. And then the mac and cheese part of it, there is no cow cheese in it. So when we watch the video, you'll see it is actually a plant-based cheese sauce. So that's what I wanted to say before you play the video.
Sounds great. All right, so let's see. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just because I don't think I did the audio. Let's see. Let me make sure I've got that set up. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and kick the video off. So try to hold back with your taste buds because I've already proofed it and it looks very delicious. So prepare yourself.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Strickland, and I'm a Food for Life instructor with the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. I am going to show you today how to make a really quick and easy and delicious butternut squash mac and cheese with broccoli. So I've already started cooking some of this. This is 1 cup of onion. I'm adding a couple of cloves of garlic and 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme. You could also use fresh thyme. If you can't find fresh thyme, dried is just great. In fact, I am using this dried thyme right here. And I'm just cooking it in a non-stick skillet with a little bit of water. So I am not using oil because at Physicians Committee, we teach eating a whole food plant-based diet that is also low in oil, salt, and sugar. So I am not adding any oil to this, and I'm just going to let the onion cook for just a little bit, and the garlic and the thyme. It's already smelling really good. So before I started cooking this, I've already cooked some whole wheat penne pasta, which was just 1/2 bag of whole wheat penne pasta, 8 ounces. And I've already cooked 3 cups of organic broccoli. So while the penne pasta was cooking, I already had the broccoli cut up, and I added the broccoli to the last few minutes of the penne pasta cooking, and then I drained both of them together. So they're already ready to get covered with the butternut squash cheese sauce. I've also already steamed 1 whole medium-sized butternut squash. It's about 1 3/4 to 2 pound size butternut squash. So something about this size. If you would prefer, and you don't want to cut up one of these because they can be a little difficult to cut up, you can also buy butternut squash already cut up in your freezer section at most grocery stores, and at some grocery stores you can find it in the produce section already cut up and peeled for you. So perfectly fine to use that too. And you want about 1 3/4 pounds or so. All right, so while you're cooking the onion, garlic, and thyme, you can add more water if it starts to stick. You want to start with about 1/4 cup of water. And that mostly should cook down. You're just trying to get the onion soft and translucent. And that looks pretty good. It's just about there. Okay, so we're using butternut squash today in place of cheese. So at the Physicians Committee, we teach eating a whole food plant-based diet, meaning that we want our foods to be in their most whole or pure form possible, and we want them to be plant-based, meaning there's no animal products. So I am not putting cow-based or dairy-based cheese in this mac and cheese. It's totally going to be just vegetables in our mac and cheese. And then I'm also adding a non-dairy milk today. Okay, this looks perfect. So we're going to take that off the heat, and then I'm going to add it to my blender. said, I already cooked the butternut squash. Get every bit of that delicious onion and garlic in there. Set that aside. And then I'm going to add the butternut squash that's already been steamed. And you want to steam it about 10 to 12 minutes over boiling hot water in a steamer basket, and just steam it until it's fork tender. So as soon as you can stick a fork in it and get it all the way through, it's fork tender. And we're adding that into the blender, along with a couple of cups of, I'm using soy milk today. This is unsweetened. You could use almond milk, cashew milk, flaxseed milk, oat milk, any non-dairy milk you want to, as long as it's unsweetened, because sweet mac and cheese wouldn't taste very good. You also don't want to use vanilla flavored, because that would be really yucky in your mac and cheese. So 2 cups of that. And then I'm adding in a product you may not have heard of, but nutritional yeast. And it's not baker's yeast, it's not brewer's yeast. You can't bake bread with it unless you want your bread to taste cheesy, but it just adds delicious flavor to food, as it says right here. It gives it sort of a cheesy umami flavor, and instead of using actual dairy-based cheese. And this actually has a lot of B12 in it and is super good for you. So a lot of plant-based eaters really enjoy the flavor of nutritional yeast. So I'm adding about a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast, and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and 1 tablespoon of white wine vinegar. And I'm just using this kind right here, white wine vinegar, and some salt and pepper. So you do not have to add salt if you are eating a low salt or salt-free diet, and I'm not adding much. It was a little bit, and it is iodized sea salt. So make sure when you're adding any salt, if you do use salt, make sure it's iodized, because iodine is a very important mineral in our diets. So that's it in the sauce. And then I'm just going to whirl it up in the blender really fast. So loud noise, hang on. Stop and scrape it down just a little bit. Just to make sure we get all of that yummy stuff mixed in. Okay, one more time. Should probably do it. All right, so I already have my bowl filled with the cooked whole wheat penne pasta and the cooked broccoli. So we're going to add that over the top. Just pour the sauce over, and it looks very cheesy, nice and orange from the butternut squash. And just add that over the top. And I'm not going to use all of it, so you may not need all of it. You'll have some left to put on other dishes, like maybe a baked potato with some steamed broccoli on it and some beans. Beans might actually also be a good addition to this if you want to throw in a can of organic low sodium cannellini beans. That would be delicious in here as well. All right, and that looks beautiful. I may add just a little bit more. And just for a little added flavor, you could add some fresh chopped basil or parsley on top. So I have some already cut up fresh basil. I'm just going to sprinkle over the top of it, and that looks just delicious. So it looks like this. So butternut squash, mac and cheese. Now remember, it's not going to taste exactly like your mama's macaroni and cheese, because it's not. It has only vegetables in it, so, and some nice whole wheat penne pasta, but there are no dairy products, no animal products at all. So it's not going to raise your cholesterol. There's no saturated fat, no cholesterol, lots of fiber. So it's very good for you, but also really tasty. So I hope you'll give it a try. Thanks.
Okay, so if you didn't know what you were having for dinner tonight, might I make a suggestion? That looks phenomenal, and I have to say that I love the special guest there at the end that kind of came in on us there.
Oh, my dog! I just saw her. I didn't realize she was on there. That's funny.
She had to make a guest appearance just to let us know she approves as well.
That's funny. That's funny.
I'm backstage on these things, and I'm like, oh, there goes the dog.
She's actually opened that door and walked through it before a few times on videos. But I did see the question pop up about how do you get enough protein eating no meat or dairy, and that's a very good question. So the very simple answer to that is all vegetables, all beans, all grains, and even most fruits have protein in them.
All living things that have structure have protein.
Right. And so beans are an excellent source of protein, but even that broccoli we just put in that dish, the whole wheat penne pasta, and the butternut squash, every bit of that had a lot of protein in it. But like I said, you could add a can of low sodium cannellini beans to it, and that would be a delicious way to add even more protein. But the average American actually gets way too much protein. And it is possible, yes, to have too much protein. And too much protein damages our kidneys and damages our livers. So you don't want to go crazy with protein. The average woman probably needs maybe 45 to 50 grams of protein a day. The average woman is getting probably 75 to 100. So if you think about eating eggs and bacon for breakfast topped with cheese and some cheese grits and a big glass of milk, and then at lunch you're having some sort of sandwich with meat and cheese, and at dinner you're having some sort of meat with vegetables as an afterthought on the side, that's way too much protein, and that's not good for us either. So people are always so worried about protein, and I can promise you we do not have hospitals in the United States filled with people who have protein deficiencies. Protein deficiency is not an issue. So what's more of an issue is that we are not getting enough fruits and vegetables and grains and beans. We're not getting enough fiber in our diets. So we do have hospitals filled with people with colon cancer, and that's lack of fiber. So we get plenty of protein. And I mean, as an example, my husband and I have eaten completely plant-based now for going on 12 years. It'll be 12 years in June. I became a fitness instructor 6 years ago and have way bigger muscles than I ever had when I was eating meat. So you can get plenty of protein through your fruits, vegetables, grains, and beans. Even fruit has a little bit of protein in it, but all vegetables definitely have protein. Beans are an enormous source of protein, and grains, they all have protein.
I remember I was talking about how all these nutrients are like an orchestra, that there's so many named and unnamed nutrients that you're getting in fruits, vegetables, grains, and beans that they're really integral to your health. When you get your calories, when you get your proteins through meat, you're not getting those nutrients. And you know, there's this phrase or this saying that is in reference to people in our culture now, that we're overfed and undernourished. And that could be said about the fiber that the meat products are lacking. It could also be said about many of the nutrients that the animal products are lacking, that you're getting all these calories, perhaps getting very large, but you're undernourished. And sometimes that's even perhaps why you feel hungry.
Right. And I just saw the question pop up too about, so how do we find information about the physicians committee's dietary recommendations? And there's a free app you can use. If you go on either Google Play or the App Store, depending on what kind of phone you have, there is something called the 21-day Kickstart. And you can sign up for free. It is a free app, and it will send you information about what specifically you should be eating every day, but it'll give you recipes and encouraging tips and hints and links to research about it. There's another app also totally free called Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen, and it is the daily dozen of things that you should be eating every day: fruits, beans, vegetables, and grains. So, but you can check off every time you eat one. You can check off, yeah, I just had a cup of blueberries. Check off one berry, because he does recommend, you know, at least one serving of berries every day. Berries are super, super good for our brain health. So berries and green leafy vegetables, if there's some place that you're going to start and you want to figure out what's the best thing I can eat, instead of what can't I eat, what can I eat, add green leafy vegetables and add berries. So frozen berries are fine. Get frozen strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, mixed berries, whatever, and eat those every day. Like one serving of berries, super good for you. And then at least one serving of leafy green vegetables. I would go with, you know, more than that. But things like kale and collard greens are really, really, really good for your brain and your whole body, actually. So, but those are the two things I would say. Add those to your diet every day right now: berries and green leafy vegetables. The things I would suggest that you cut out of your diet right now would be processed meat and dairy, because the things that have the most high amounts of saturated fat and cholesterol, we know are going to clog your arteries. But also processed meats, there's actually a lot of research that shows processed meats are they're definitely linked to Alzheimer's and dementia. And processed meats are things like hot dogs, bacon, salami, bologna, sausage, all those, the things that are filled with nitrates are just really, really bad for your brain, and also the rest of your body. But
So now,
that would be one thing I'd cut out.
if you want to learn more about the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, you can go to pcrm.org, and that'll get you to their website. It's a very good, well put together, informative website. If you wanted more of what Carolyn and I brought to you today, you know, we've traditionally, for several years now, we've been at Whole Foods here in Montgomery, giving presentations like this in person. It's the last Monday of every month at 6 p.m. Since COVID started, that's like 10 sessions now.
11. We've done 11 sessions.
It's been nice to build a skill, but it's kind of heartbreaking too. But we're online, a lot like this program is online. You could go to Facebook and search for Meatless Monday Montgomery. You'll find sessions that we taped, like we taped one just this Monday on colon cancer. But you know, we'd love to have you as part of our community. You all ask great questions. I hope you'll do the same for us at those events.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you guys joining us. And we will definitely, I can guarantee and incorporate it into this presentation once we get done with the recording, but I can guarantee that we will be posting the recipe, and I'm speaking both for the audience and for myself. So we will definitely get that incorporated in the recording of this once we put it on social media. So I think we've gotten all of the questions answered, and this has been a fantastic presentation. I did want to take a few minutes to kind of go over quickly who M4A is and kind of what we do, and kind of what our plans are for with Coffee Break going forward. But really do appreciate you guys coming on. Nothing but positivity, it seems, has come through the chat and the Q&A, and I'm sure we'll get plenty of positive feedback as we disperse this through our newsletters and our social media. So definitely check Dr. Strickland and Ms. Carolyn Strickland as well on social media, online, and I'm sure you will get a lot of out of what they're bringing to the community. So thanks again for joining us, and we really appreciate it. And we're going to move on to our M4A and kind of who we are, describe who we are, and see how we might be able to best help you guys out, especially if you're joining us maybe from a different region of the state. Of course, M4A is the Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging. We are one of 13 area agencies on aging across the state of Alabama. There you see our aging network per se that covers all 67 counties. We are pretty much dead center. We cover the counties that basically surround Jefferson County, and of course the United Way is located in Jefferson County to kind of cover that region. Again, we operate in all 67 counties, and our overall mission for our network is to aid the overall mission for the entire network across the state is to help those within our communities age in place within the community of their choice. Now, specifically for M4A, our mission is to empower individuals, people living with disabilities, and their caregivers to self-advocate, as well as live independently and safely in the communities of their choice. And our motto specifically here for M4A is assisting all ages at all stages. Now, for our region, we cover Blount County, Chilton County, St. Clair, Shelby and Walker County, and of course, we cover Jefferson County for our senior employment program. But if you call our agency by accident with our information that we have at the end of this presentation, we will definitely get you back to the region that cover, or the AAA that covers your region or your county that you're in, to make sure that we get those local resources to you. Kind of the easiest way to describe the way our process works, we have what's called an Aging and Disability Resource Center, or ADRC for short, and that is a single point of contact. So basically you can call us, you can mail us, you can come in person during normal circumstances, and then of course now we have an online format that you can actually go through and make a referral as well. But basically what ADRC does and what they're great at is they do a full benefit screening to see what services you might be eligible for. So you may be interested in coffee break, but when you call our agency, you may get screened for things like VA benefits or nutrition, caregiver supportive services, just all sorts of different programs and resources that we're aware of in the community to try to help best your situation. So I guess you could kind of look at us as a good starting point and a good one-stop shop. So again, like I said, you can call, you can mail, you can come in person, or just to make it easier for yourself, you can also visit our website at www.m4a.org/referral, and you can make that referral there. Now you see here it says make a referral or get help. If you're calling on, or if you're inquiring on behalf of someone else, you can click the make a referral button. But if you are doing it for yourself on your own behalf, you can of course click the get help button, and it'll navigate you through a few questions to kind of give us insight on what it is that you're specifically needing, and to really try to get the ball rolling for you. These are some of the core programs that are offered across the state. Of course, like I mentioned, we have the Elderly Nutrition Program, which is homebound meals, as well as our partnership with local senior centers to provide meals there at the center. We also provide caregiver support through our Alabama Cares program, medication assistance through our Senior RX program, and as well as SHIP that can also help with specifically with your Medicare and Medicare savings plans programs, especially during the open enrollment season, which we just got through from October through December. We also, like I said, we provide a senior employment program, which is, we do cover Jefferson County with that as well, but basically that program helps to provide temporary, I think it's just under 30 hours a week or so of service that we partner with local agencies to provide individuals who are looking to get back in the workforce. There is eligibility requirements, but it allows us to provide on-the-job training, as well as providing a service to the nonprofits that we partner with to hopefully sustain long-term care employment. We also provide legal assistance with an elder law attorney that we partner with, elder abuse prevention, with different online initiatives that we have, as well as long-term care support through our large Medicaid waiver program, and of course our ombudsman program, which is, in short, the ombudsman is the individual who can kind of take, they're kind of the, I guess you could say, the middle person for a facility, a long-term care facility, and the family or the resident that's living there. So they kind of field those calls and try to mitigate any issues and try to assist when needed. The Medicaid waiver program is, in short, a program that takes individuals who are both financially and physically eligible for nursing home placement, and it kind of provides those services in the community. So if you have someone who meets the criteria, they can bring those services in to hopefully try to delay a nursing home placement to bring those services in the community, because we know that everyone, again, wants to age in place in the community of their choice. So, some of the other programs that are specifically unique to M4A is, of course, we have the Panda Project, which Ms. Jennifer, you heard earlier. She is the program director. We've received a grant to provide supportive services for those living with dementia-related diagnoses, as well as special needs that also have a high likelihood of dementia-related diagnoses here, specifically in the Shelby County region of Alabama. So that is just unique to us into that one county, but you're more than welcome to inquire and see how she might be able to partner with you. We also have a dementia-friendly Alabama initiative, which we partner with several other agencies across the state. And really, it's unique to M4A with some of the things that we do. However, that initiative is really a statewide initiative that the entire network has done a great job of trying to spread the word about dementia friendliness and awareness throughout our state, as well as our Living Well Alabama program, which teaches there's both physical and diet-related type education to help. There's workshops that Ms. Brianna Thomas provides with that, which I think I just pronounced her name wrong. She's happy now, so she just got married recently. But she is the instructor for that program, and she provides workshops that are free. Right now they're virtual, so it's even better. There's limited contact there, so definitely check that out. And two really of our in-house programs that we tried to build up the most that we can is our Critical Needs Fund, and also our AIMS Community Service Project, which kind of feeds into the Critical Needs Fund as well. Especially during the pandemic, we were bombarded, I guess is the best way to describe, with a lot of calls with people that their real needs in the community, and we knew that would be the case. Those are calls that come through all the time anyway, but that were definitely heightened as far or as a result of the pandemic. And our Critical Needs Fund is something that we've created to kind of help bring those donations from the community. It's a great way for you to give back to the community. We utilize those funds to provide things like if there's emergency cases of just several different scenarios, but if we utilize those funds to kind of help bring peace to that family, to try and help reduce those needs, as well as our AIM Community Service Project, which is a volunteer and donation driven program to provide home modifications, community supports to do things like wheelchair ramps, grab bars, etc. So we've got a long list of different initiatives that we're always creating. So we hope that you'll definitely consider helping us in our mission with those. Of course, we are on social media. We do have a Facebook account for practically most of the programs in-house. We have one for our Alabama Cares program, as well as a main M4A page. Panda Project has one as well. And also our Living Well Alabama has a Facebook page. And we do have a Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube account. Again, this is a recorded video. It is live on Facebook right now. So we will be taking this video, kind of cleaning it up a little bit, and we're going to be adding that to our social media account and kind of giving it out to the community. So if you have any questions, of course, like I said, if you joined us late, definitely drop those comments under the social media, and we will definitely make sure that we get that question answered for you. If you visit our website at www.m4a.org, you will be prompted to join our newsletter. So feel free. That's a really great way to find out more information about the things that are happening in our community, and whether it be us in-house or other community organizations that are hosting events. And we definitely try to fill that up with useful information for our community members and those that are on our newsletter. We do have our next coffee break scheduled. I believe this date is correct. We are doing coffee breaks the last Wednesday of each month, and that would be February 24th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And we will be focusing in on the entire month of February on a Healthy Heart initiative. And let's see, I got to make sure I get these hashtags right. We're definitely going to be, kind of focusing on heart health, since that is the awareness month for February. And specifically on February 5th, we're asking everybody to share your selfies on social media and just try and get the word out about Healthy Heart initiatives, and make sure that you wear red to bring awareness to that. And some of the hashtags that we're using are hashtag our hearts, as well as hashtag M4A care. So be sure to use those. I believe that Jennifer just dropped those in the chat window. So definitely make sure you do your part in trying to bring awareness to Healthy Hearts and the awareness for the month of February. So if you have any suggestions, we are kicking off coffee break again. We do have the next few months scheduled, but if you have any suggestions, make sure, we're always looking for suggestions from the viewers. So make sure you email those to panda@m4a.org, and we will definitely see if we can get that topic covered in some of our upcoming episodes of Coffee Break. Here is our contact information. Again, we are located in Alabaster, specifically 209 Cloverdale Circle in Alabaster, which is between Calera and Alabaster on Highway 31. And there's our contact information there locally, 205-670-5770, or toll free at 1-866-570-5770. 2998. And of course, our website is www.m4a.org. And feel free to reach out with us any way, either digitally, in person, or however you need to see how we might be able to best help your situation. So again, we hope to see you next month, and that the RSVP, if you go to our Facebook page, we will be sharing these events on our Facebook page, but it's the same registration link. You can sign up for multiple of these, or RSVP for multiple coffee breaks at once. So be sure to do that, and it'll send you a calendar event reminder, etc. So thanks again. We hope that you have a great rest of the week, and we hope to see you next month for Coffee Break.